Hello, this is Mike Kent. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer here at The Nerd Is In. And this is the first in a series of videos on first year programming. And I'm going to be concentrating in two languages, C Sharp for Windows and C++. But before we can create these programs, we have to have a compiler. We're going to use a free compiler called Visual Studio from Microsoft, and we're going to download Community Edition. So if you go to visualstudio.microsoft.com, you can get to this, click on download, we want Community Edition, and then it should pop up here and say, what do you want to do? And I always like to say save file. I like to save the installer rather than running it. So I'm going to save the file, and see right here by default it's going to go into my downloads folders. I've actually already got this downloaded in a different location, and that's where I'm going to run the install from. So let me switch over to that folder so we can run the install. So here I've downloaded it in an appropriately named folder underneath my The Nerd Is In on Documents, Visual Studio. I'm going to double click on it to run this. Now I'm running dual screen here, so sometimes Windows decides to pop stuff up on the other screen. So if you see a little bit of an awkward pause, that might just be me grabbing something from the other screen. So I'm running Visual Studio right here. The first thing it's going to give me is, are you sure you want to allow it to make changes to your system? Yes, Visual Studio does indeed need to make changes to my system if it's going to install itself. So I'm going to say yes. Now that nag is a good thing, because anytime you're going to install something, it might be wanting to make changes to your system. You go, well, hold it, I'm just running something. Why is it doing this? And that might be a clue that you're hitting malware. So you do want to be careful. But I'm going to run the Visual Studio installer here and hit continue. It's going to have to download the installer from the installer. So the installer installs the installer so we can install the software. And it popped it up on the other screen. Let me drag it onto this screen. So now it's asking me a whole bunch of different things. What do I want to install? Well, we want to do .NET Desktop Development. That's a Windows program, and that would give me C# and Visual Basic. And we want C++. So we probably don't need Universal Window Platform Development, but I'm going to check it off anyway. But we want everything that has to do with C++, and we want everything to do with .NET development, so then we can say install. Now, as you look at this, it says it's going to take 18 gigabytes. So it's going to be downloading this stuff and installing it. So it's going to take a while, and I'm sure you'd like to sit here and watch the video the whole time this is downloading and installing, but you know what? I'm going to hit install here, and I'm going to force y'all to sit here as it downloads the entire thing. Okay, you see, we're 0% download. Now wait for it. 1%. Oh, isn't this exciting? The drama is building, because certainly we're going to hit 2% momentarily on our download. And I know you 2%. You know what, folks, I guess I'll pause the video until we get further along. So I had to unpause the video because this is unprecedented. We are now 33% downloaded. Just thought you'd like to know that. I now return you to your regularly scheduled pause. Well, here we are, 70% downloaded. I know we're not there yet, so the only thing I can do is play some copyright-free music while you're waiting for this to download. And it's appropriately called Well Worth the Wait. Alright, maybe I should just pause the video instead. And we're at 100% download. Unfortunately, we're only at 39% installed. So, time to hit that pause button again. And we finally got to where the install is done, but predictably, Windows needs to restart. So, back to the pause button. Well, one reboot later, sitting at the desktop, I'm going to launch Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition. My screen's going to look just a little bit different because I have some projects already, and it remembers my last projects. So for me to get to the screen I want to show you, I'm just going to say, I'm going to just open one of my existing projects. But what you're most likely going to be presented with before you ever can get into a project or get into Visual Studio, it's right here on this menu, File Menu, Account Settings, is sign into Visual Studio, and this would be using your Microsoft account. Now, if you don't have one, you can create one. I'll go through signing in here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, and yes, I'm going to blur my password and username, but I have two-factor authentication set up so that getting signed in is a little bit more involved. So I'm going to skip through all that, but I do recommend you have two-factor authentication set up for all your important accounts. If you're Apple or Android, for your phone, have two-factor, your Microsoft account, your Google account, whatever your email is. It just gives you a much lower chance of somebody taking control of your main email, and then they can log into anything and say forgot password and get control of all your accounts. So I really recommend that two-factor authentication. So anyway, I'm just going to sign into my existing account. And put in my password, and my password is, of course, black circle, black circle, black circle, black circle, black circle, black circle, black circle. Well, you get the idea. So once I'm logged in, now I'm ready to create a Visual Studio C# project, which is another video. So this is how to get your Community Edition set up. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.